You're probably here if you struggle to sleep on business travel, and if so, you've come to the right place. As someone who's been on over 50 flights last year, it's almost 1 or 2 flights every week. I totally get it. I know the feeling of walking into a hotel room late at night only to have another flight early in the morning at like 4 or 5 a.m. But at the same time, your brain's running at 100 miles an hour. And most travelers, especially business travelers, think that just exhaustion is gonna mean automatic sleep, it's just not the case, unfortunately. That's why you lie in bed, tossing and turning, and you're wondering like, why can't I just sleep? It's been such a long day. And sleep only happens when your brain believes it is able to shut down. If you put the shutdown method into place and it saves you even 15 minutes of sleep per day over the course of a year, that's almost 12 full 8-hour nights worth of sleep that you're adding to your physical and your mental recovery, which is huge. Sleep is your body's time to recover. It allows you to show up sharper and recover physically if you have aches or pains, or you're just recovering from life's demands or a workout. Like, it is so important. And 12 extra days in an entire year of full night's sleep is incredible. So it is very, very important. Small wins add up, and we'll get into all the details in this video. So I want to go through what do most travelers do wrong. We need to make sure that we understand where we can improve, right? So this is the biggest blind spot. We've trained our brains as travelers and high performers to stay in work mode 24/7. Between airports, hotels, group dinners, our mind is constantly on, which is fine, but to maintain some recovery, sleep won't happen just because you're tired. It only happens when your brain believes it's safe to shut down. And that's why this mental shutdown ritual is a non-negotiable, okay? And most business travelers rely on the wrong crutches to stay awake. It could be 4 p.m. espressos. It could be alcohol or sugar at dinner to wind down, or, melatonin pills. This is a popular one to compensate for that extra caffeine, to knock ourselves out. And it works sometimes until it doesn't. You might wake up groggy, inconsistent, and you just accept the fact that this is the price of your lifestyle. And I've heard this time and time again from business travelers, but that doesn't have to be the case, okay? The biggest blind spot of all is that you have no system. You leave sleep up to chance, and then you hope that being tired will be enough instead of building a repeatable ritual that tells the brain it's time to power down. And so with that said, let's get into the 8-step shutdown method. The first one is going to be signal the shift, okay? We need a physical shift from when we come home from our meetings, our dinners, to when we are going to start this wind down process. That's really, really important. So that can be by changing our clothes, like get out of that persona and put on different clothes. Put on your pajamas, your shorts, whatever it is. But physically, start to tell your body that, okay, I'm in a state of mind. Like, don't wait and sit on the couch and start to scroll for 30 minutes in your clothes. Like, start that early. And that could also mean, taking a hot shower, doing something to actually get into that transitionary period. We want to make sure we really focus on that signal to actually make that shift, okay? Next, we have hide the phone. We need to create friction, because if you're a high performer, you have a lot of responsibilities. Obviously, take care of your relationships, everything you need, contact who you need. But when it comes to actually the wind down period, to create that separation between the workday and our sleep, we need to put the phone away. So that can be, we need to create some friction. So, putting it on do not disturb and putting it on maybe the other nightstand, that's further away from you, or on the desk that's across the room. Now, obviously, keep your alarm set and turn the volume up, but you want to make it so that you have friction where if you even wanted to reach and scroll on social media or answer emails or make a phone call or get a phone call, you put it across the room so that you have to physically get up, and that's going to, wake you up a little bit if you have to actually do that. So hiding the phone is so, so important, okay? By the way, real quick, I have a free 7-day business traveler fitness reset, which helps you get your health back on track from anywhere without needing a gym, unless you have access to one, but you don't need it, without rigorous food tracking on the road. And I basically give you a daily to-do list, which takes no more than 20 to 30 minutes every single day. It's super simple, and you get to work directly one-on-one with me. It's totally free. Just hit the link in the description for more information, and let's get back into the video. Now, when it comes to you, this is unplug the environment. This actually builds off the last one that we were just talking about. That can be do not disturb. That can be, obviously you want to dim the lights. So if all the lights are on, get an environment that actually is calming. You can also set the room temperature to a cool temp. So, it's been proven that our bodies get into a sleep routine and we sleep deeper when we have a certain a lower core body temperature. I personally set mine to 68 or 69. Some people like to do the high 70s. Just do what's good for you, but more often than not, if you set a colder temperature and then you're under the covers, it really helps to get into that sleep state. So that's unplug. The next one is going to be tea or supplements. Okay, so the reason I say this is because by the way, this is going to be non-melatonin based supplements, because with melatonin it works, but then if you're only sleeping 5 hours, for example, back-to-back meetings in the morning, or you're going to hop on a flight, then you're going to be groggy. Your brain's going to be catching up, and you're going to have to overcompensate with caffeine. So what I recommend is if you're going to use any sleep supplements, you can use like a chamomile tea, like a nighttime tea, obviously caffeine free, or some things that work really well are magnesium glycinate. Okay, this is a form of magnesium that really helps to lower the cortisol, get the body and muscles relaxed to get in a state of sleep. Typically people will take 200 to 400 milligrams, and it's a very common thing. It's a very common supplement that people take to help with that wind down period. Some other things are theanine, apigenin, and ashwagandha. Apigenin, I believe, is what actually is, which comes from the chamomile tea itself, that gives you that nighttime wind down. Again, lowering cortisol, getting them, muscle relaxant. Ashwagandha as well. So, there's a bunch of sleep supplements out there that have a combination of all of these. Or if you want to try one individually, I would say start with magnesium glycinate, see if that works for you, and then go from there. I'll put a link in the description to the sleep supplement I use, which actually has a combination of magnesium glycinate. It has apigenin and ashwagandha in it, and when I take it, my sleep is insane. Like, I have crazy dreams, and it's always such a good, restful sleep. But two things with that is, one, I have to take it consistently to feel the benefits, and number two is it's not going to work on a one-off night. It might, but just like anything, you need consistency in your other habits too, to really see that improvement. Take it consistently. So I'll put a link to that if you want to try it out. It's worked great for me, but do what works best for you. Okay. The other one is daily exercise. Okay. Now this can be something really small. You have to think about it. If your daily energy expenditure is quite low and you're bouncing meeting to meeting, sure, you might be walking, maybe building to building, whatnot. You might be walking to lunch there and back, and your step count might be fairly high, but also the more activity you can expend through the day, it's only going to pair with your body physically winding down, because a lot of times you might be mentally worn down, but physically your body's good. So if you do incorporate that daily exercise, your body's going to know how to actually get into that state, and it's going to want to have a point of time that it wants to recover. And I'm not talking anything strenuous, especially for travelers. This could be a 10-minute, 15-minute incline walk in the morning, or at lunch, on the treadmill. So it can be something really easy. And there's, a whole other routine that I can get into when it comes to other benefits. And I'll talk about, beyond this, what are some other ones. Okay. The other one is we want to make sure we have an oxygen reset. And what that means is nasal breathing. So nasal breathing has been shown to have enormous benefits for when it comes to immunity, to sleep, concentration, all these different benefits. But we have to be mindful about that in the evening. So you can either do this while you're in a steamy shower in the evening, or, whether you meditate, pray, or you're just really trying to unwind. If you pair this with putting the phone across the room so you don't have the urge to reach for it on the nightstand, it works really, really well. And it helps to get into that relaxive state. So really this, pairing with closing your eyes, having your phone away from the room and just really focusing on your breathing. Again, it might be tough if you're not used to it. If you're used to mouth breathing, you might have to actually force a little bit of air, but just know it's serving you well to get into that state. And it's going to help to lower that resting heart rate and so many good benefits. So that oxygen reset is huge. Okay. Next, we want to have some sort of wind down input. And what that means is we want to continue to have that separation from the day to actually getting to sleep. Now, if you have a late night and early morning, this can be as simple as 5 minutes, opening up a book and just reading for 5 minutes. Just something to divert your mental energy elsewhere, get into that state of mind. Okay. Again, this pairs really well with the other habits like, keeping the phone away or doing the relaxive breathing, that kind of thing. This all works if you put it together. Okay. But that one helps a lot, even if it's for 5 minutes just to unwind. It really gets the mind to get into that state. Okay. No caffeine within 6 to 8 hours. Okay. This is the N. And the half-life of caffeine is 4 to 6 hours. So, you could push that window depending on what your tolerance is. But if you really want to have the best sleep, obviously, if you need to be on peak performance later in the day, there's other ways to sustain that energy, like proper nutrition. I'll walk through that in a whole separate video, which is so important for energy maintenance for, business travelers and that kind of thing. And there's another one that's really important on this, which is just general sleep hygiene. It's not part of the shutdown method, but setting that circadian rhythm in the morning is very important. And that means, instead of just seeing your phone screen as soon as you wake up, that's not going to give you the same signal to get that circadian rhythm going. You actually need to be outside in the sun. And if you really want to maximize your opportunity to sleep well in the evening, that means like physically being outside and seeing the sun for, literally 5 minutes. So that is kind of a cherry on top that really helps physiologically get us into that state to start the cycle early, so that when you pair it with all this, the whole shutdown method, then your body really is ready to go to sleep. Okay. So that takes us through. And I just want to emphasize, this isn't just about, biohacking or anything. These are training your brain to separate business from rest. And we want to have that physical separation so that we know when it's actually time to start winding down, because otherwise our mind is going to be going nonstop and we're just going to continue into the next day, and onward. So, once you master this ritual, you will not just fall asleep faster, you will wake up sharper, which is so, so important for high performers. And you won't be battling that constant mental fatigue. Obviously, if you're on constant, 5-6 hour days of sleep and you have a lot going on, you're going to be riding a wave of adrenaline, and you just, have this elevated level of stress that's going to push you through. But regardless, it's going to make you feel that much better, even if you're on low rest. So really hope that helped, and we'll see you in the next video.